Hi, my name's Dr. Pecoraro. I'm a chiropractor in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. And I used to be known in Ocean Gate by my real name, Artie Pecoraro. And we started going there in around probably 1953. And my father died. We sold the house probably in 1989, 1990, somewhere around there. Anyway, when I first started going there, this video is about Ocean Gate, part one. When we first started going there, I was probably 5 years old. And my father was from New York City, and he wanted to find a place at the shore where there were no people, because being from New York City, he hated people. So he drove up and down the shore. The Parkway wasn't there then. And he found this place, Ocean Gate, went down there. And I want to tell you a little bit about what the town looked like at that time. When the first place we parked was on Newport Avenue, right at the beach. And I don't remember if it was before or right after the summer. It must have been right before the summer. And at that time, the people that lived on the beach had docks out on the beach going out into the water, little docks, maybe about 10 or 20 feet long, and they would have their boats parked out at them. So there were a number of docks out in the water from the beach, and you could walk out on them from the beach, but they were private docks basically. And at that time there were no lifeguards, hardly even any policemen, just one policeman for the entire town. At the time his name was Hoover. He looked like he was about 85 years old at the time. And he was the lifeguard, the police department, and he was the only thing around that you really had to pay any attention to. And like I said, he was about 86 years old, so he wasn't very hard to keep away from. And at the time there were the slides on the pier. There was a little slide about halfway out on each pier, and a big slide at the end of each pier. It was as high as I guess that the platform was about as high as the street light that's at the end of the pier. The platform for the slide was about that high, and you used to have to climb up this thing, and the slide went down approximately like this and then went out like this. There was water coming down it, and you would shoot out into the water. And of course there were no rules at the time, so people used to go down practically any way you could think of. I guess the most daring thing that the average person did was the slides, when you were standing on the platform, the slides started right where your feet were. So what people would do is they would stand up on the platform and fall forward and land on the slide on their knees. And I remember the slide went like this, so you were kind of landing, almost going straight down. And they would be on their hands and knees, or I think they were mostly on their hands and knees, and then dive out into the water when they got to the water. And it was very exciting time. There were lots of people on the beach and on the pier. Lots of, say, teenagers, probably at least 40, I'm going to guess, playing their radios, blankets and stuff. And the slide was on this, it's hard to explain. They were like pipes, and they were in a form of a cube, and then they had like crisscross also in each cube. And so the littler kids like me, we used to climb on those things. And some of the older guys used to go up. There were maybe about 3 or 4 of those things before you got to the platform at the top. And some of the older guys would get up towards the top and try to dive off into the water. And it was a little far from the edge of the pier, so some people didn't always make it too well. They hit and got hurt. And but it was fun and very exciting. One time I guess I must have been about 13 or so, maybe 12. And it was a ladder going up to the top of the slide. It wasn't stairs. And I was standing at the bottom of the ladder in my bathing suit. There were a million people all over the place, water all over the place. All of a sudden, this young kid, I guess he was about my age, fell all the way. I don't know how far up he was, but he fell right next to me onto the pier. And that was kind of scary. And at the time, people would, you could dive into the water, and people would do flips and stuff like that. And I remember one time, this one guy, I think his name was Ronnie Payton, did a flip off the pier, and he hit his head on the pier. As he turned around, his head hit the pier. And he didn't get knocked out or anything, but it was a little scary. And there were a lot of us who used to do dives, flips, backflips, cutaways, which is you stand on the edge of the pier looking towards the beach, and then you throw your feet out and dive straight into the water looking while you're looking at the beach. Lots of people used to do these things. And some of the crazier kids used to ride their bikes off the beach into the water. It was a lot of fun, a lot of fun. There was also a place that most of you probably never heard of. I heard some people call it the Tarzan place. It was on Bayview Avenue between Newport, not between Newport, between Stone Harbor and Monmouth. And it was it was a sandy lot, I guess, with sand, like beach sand. And there was this big tree. At the time, it seemed like the tree was maybe 3 feet in diameter. And somebody had axed notches into it so you could crawl up this tree. And at the top of the tree, there was a gigantic rope. Seemed like it was about this big anyway, with a knot on the bottom of it. And you would go on the bottom, grab the rope, walk up that tree, and then you could swing out like Tarzan. It was kind of a lot of fun. A lot of guys would do that, and then it would drop down onto the sand sometimes, and sometimes they go back and forth. And that was a lot of fun.